You're welcome today. My name's Henry Mitchell. We're here to talk a little bit about concrete waterproofing. I've been with Markham for about 9 years now. I'm very passionate about waterproofing concrete itself. On the line today, I've got Ben Dowell. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Ben.
Yeah, thanks, Henry. Good to be on board today. I'm based in Perth, Western Australia, so we're currently in lockdown, so excuse me if any children or anything run past in the background. But yeah, I head up the sales and operations for Markham in Perth, Western Australia. So been with the company for about 3 years now, and yeah, looking forward to sharing a bit of our knowledge about the new way to waterproof basements.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for the early start, mate. What we wanted to talk about today is Markham. You've probably seen our marketing out there and what we're about. We're about sustainable treatments for concrete, but today we wanted to narrow that down and just talk about the new sort of setup for basement waterproofing. We're going to cover 3 parts. Obviously the system, the benefits around crack control, and the end-to-end approach with performance-based warranties. So we just got a little poll here to do for a start, just to get a bit better idea of where you guys come from and what you're about. So if you just click on that, and we'll get the answers up just so we can make it a little bit more focus for you guys. Awesome. So I see that most of you, 71% of you are interested in new and advanced technologies. That's awesome. So we're going to help you out and show you some new ways of doing things today. What is that? First off, I just want to go over the system. This is not a new product as such. It's been around since 1985, these systems have, but they're new education to a lot of people, so that's where we can help you. The Markham waterproofing system is basically made up of 3 parts, or 4 parts, as I like to call it. So first off, we talk about waterproofing the concrete itself with admixtures. Secondly, we get involved in spray-applied secondary waterproofers and cures, penetrating sealers, and the main part here is addressing the joint sealing and the crack control, because they're our weak points as such. But the 4th one that's not on here today, and which we'll cover off further in the presentation, is the QA and the warranty, and getting involved at design stage and working right through the process. So then we can give your clients a 25-year plus performance warranty. Before we get into how we do it, we just wanted to show you a couple of snapshots of different projects across New Zealand and Australia and where we've worked. So moving a bit close to my hometown, Palmerston North. So this was a 12-metre dive pool the Air Force use in Palmerston, and they've got a great big helicopter sort of cage they chuck in there, and they do rescue moves on it, which is quite interesting to watch. But the interesting part here was this pool as such, which can be classed as the same as a basement, was 12 metres deep without a membrane on the inside or outside. So you can see a really awesome example. We're stopping the moisture getting out, but also stopping any hydrostatic pressure coming in as such. Tell us a little bit about this one, Ben.
Yeah, thanks, Henry. So this one here is the Glen Shopping Centre in Melbourne, Victoria. We were called to provide some waterproofing to the car park decks above retail shopping. I believe another system had failed here. So it was quite a high risk sort of a setup. There was obviously David Jones, Myers and the likes below. So what we were able to achieve here is total waterproofing using the Hydrogel system. So this had the admixture dosed at the plant, then the spray applied after pour for curing, an extra line of waterproofing, and then as you can see in that bottom picture there, the black polymer super swell or water stop gasket in the construction joints there. I think you went to this site, didn't you, Henry?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks for that update, Ben. I visited the site when it was about stage 1 and 2 had been finished. The whole project was the biggest admixture project in Australia at the time. I think it was a total of 25,000 square metre car park. And they had some record storms there that about 3 years ago. That really stood the test of time. It was awesome to see the full system working in that area. Just flipping over.
This one's a bit closer to home. So this is in Perth, Western Australia. So what we're required to do here is fully waterproof and provide tanking in the concrete for the basement. It was quite a tricky project. As you can see in the middle there was a heritage listed house which had to be preserved. So basically for this project we provided the hydrogel admixtures in the concrete to the slab on ground in basement. So that was all dosed at the plant, as well as the shotcrete to the piles in the to cover the piles. So we had admixtures in the shotcrete and then the slab on ground, and then we had the spray applied hydrogels at time of pour for extra curing and line of protection of waterproofing. This also had the swellable gaskets to all construction joints. So wherever concrete metered concrete, we applied the super swell water stop gasket. This project was a success, and to date we haven't had any problems with it, so it was a very good project to be involved with. We also saved the client a lot of money. So we basically turned the concrete element, which is already needed and incorporated in the build cost, into the membrane or into the tanking system, negating the need for any external membranes.
Yeah, that's awesome, Ben. Thanks for that update. So just moving a little bit close to home for myself again, and it's interesting you say that, Ben, about saving the client money. So this project actually here aligns exactly with that principle as well. Westfield had their original waterproofing package in their basement car park and car park. It was about 1.5 million, I think, for this new shopping mall in Auckland. We saved them about $1 million in their waterproofing package. So we came in under 500 grand to waterproof, cure, anti-dust, their whole car park there, which is a massive cost savings. Obviously, as you can see, there's also other hidden cost savings. The concrete turns up the site already waterproofed as such. You don't have to have the lengthy delays of a membrane install, excuse me, or wait for or the chance of it getting damaged. So big plus there for Westfield. I could see the time savings and the cost savings there. Really cool mall. If any of you are in Auckland, be sure to visit that. It's a brand new mall. Up the top there's a full-on rooftop bar and garden. It's quite a neat place to spend a Saturday afternoon. But we've talked about the projects now. Now we just want to talk a little bit about how we do it. So we're all about hydrogel technologies. So these are nanotechnologies that get inside the concrete, whether it's spray applied or admixed into the concrete. We're not introducing anything foreign here. It is a sustainable source product, so we can tick that box from Green Star as well for you guys. And how it works is basically all the moisture, free moisture that usually moves in and out of your concrete and causes the problems, we just immobilize that into a gel, and your pores and porosities are filled up with that gel and can stop moisture migration going in and out of your concrete, and therefore also stop hydrostatic pressure. So below water tables, basements, that sort of thing, we have no problem working alongside your builders and your architects to give you a performance-based warranty. Again, you'll see this cross-section of the concrete pour, the blue obviously representing the moisture that moves in and out of concrete. With their hydrogel treatments, it immobilizes that moisture, so there's no chance of moisture moving in and out of the concrete. We've studied concrete with other doctors and concrete engineers, professors around the world for the last 25 years. The biggest conclusion we can find is if you can stop moisture migration in concrete, you can stop a lot of problems. So that's what we're all about. So tell us a little bit about the weaker risk areas there, Ben.
Thanks, Henry. Yeah, so I'll go on to the actual gasket, which we use in all the cold joints or penetrations. You can see there it's the blue wrapped around the penetration there. So the CONQOR 47B and 87B water stops are unique sealing gaskets that expand in a controlled fashion when exposed to moisture, forming a compression seal in concrete joint. CONQOR water stops have superior durability and weather resistance during construction as compared to clay-based water stops. This is because the water stops are actually a polymer-based product. So as it said earlier on, they don't expand quickly, whereas the clay-based bentonite strips expand real quick on site if they're exposed to moisture before they're covered in concrete. This polymer water stop only requires 50 mil cover, whereas some of the others require 90 mil. So it's better to be used, or can be used, in a thinner wall space. And that's about it for that one. Thanks,
Awesome.
Henry.
Thanks for that update on the gaskets there. Compatibilities.
Compatibility. So this one is where probably the hydrogel admixtures shine in quite a way, in the fact that they are colloidal silica based. So it's of the cementitious family. So we're not actually adding anything foreign to the concrete matrix. So your line marking, epoxy coatings, floor covering adhesives, and any other product designed for bare concrete will adhere to the concrete. With the hydrogel technology in the concrete, it actually provides a stronger surface, so you don't get dusting on the surface. So you actually get a better adhesion for anything that is being applied to the surface of that concrete.
That's awesome, Ben. Thanks for that update. Keep the questions firing through, team. If you've got anything on there, we'll be able to answer at the end in a couple of minutes. Crack control.
Thanks, Henry. Yeah, so crack control is another vital component of waterproofing concrete when we're relying on concrete itself to be the waterproofing element also. So as you can see in those two pictures there, the membrane to the surface, either inside or outside of the concrete, only achieves between 2 and 5 mil penetration. And then you're relying on the actual membrane itself to do the job. Whereas the hydrogel is complete all the way through the concrete matrix. And with it reacting with the moisture in the concrete, it basically locks that moisture in the concrete as a gel. So at time of pour, that moisture can't evaporate, causing shrinkage and therefore leaks. We also have 0.5 mil self-healing properties. So because it is a cementitious product, it will actually self-heal up to 0.5 mil of a crack if and when it does occur in the concrete. I don't know if you had anything more to add to that one, Henry.
No, that's pretty good, Ben. Just these diagrams obviously illustrate when we spray apply our hydrogel systems to the concrete, we can get up to 150 mil as chemically attracted into the concrete. So even when I've worked on wharf structures underneath, we spray up on the underside of a wharf deck and we can still get that penetration because it pulls itself into the concrete over against just a surface hardener that is a thin lid, and over time will break down, give you soft concrete underneath. But just moving on now to performance warranties. So we're a very risk-averse company. We like to work from design to installation. And the only reason why we can pass on these 25-year plus performance warranties is because we've got a little bit different model to a lot of other people out there, where we keep very tight QA control the whole way through. So we work with the architects, get the detailing sorted. We go to the ready mix plant. We make sure that's mixed to the right standard. We go and QA check off any gasket before that's any concrete's poured as such. And also our guys are spraying and applying the cures and that sort of thing. So they're all employed by us. There's no middleman as such. There's no hardware, software. It's direct between us and your clients. And then you'll see a quick diagram there of the likes of what you'd get from our QA team. You get a markup of the plan. You would know where the admixture's been mixed, what day it's been mixed, who QA checked that off. You'd know who signed off the gasket. You would know who spray applied the penetrating sealers and cures, and it would all be marked back to a grid line. So in essence, it's reducing the risk, one system, one point of contact, and then, yeah, we can pass those warranties on to you guys. So just one last thing we like to talk about is an historic project here at Markham. This project was 1997, built at the Canterbury Maths and Science University beside a river. This basement had a failure through the construction process. So obviously it had about 200 to 300 mils of water coming into that basement. I'm not sure the exact reason why or how or when or what the deal was, but in essence, the construction company got us on board and we pumped that water out, sprayed our hydrogel treatments to the surface, so wet on wet, and that helped to get into the concrete. We self-healed about 1,000 lineal meters of cracking, and we had to inject about 500 lineal meters that were above the 0.5 threshold, which was a really, really cool example of how the hydrogel works. It's a little bit different to the new basement setups we've been going through, but it still shows you how we can waterproof existing concrete as well, just by purely stopping the moisture ingress in and out of concrete. So that's getting close to a wrap now. There will be a download available on a follow-up email. But that's a quick overview of our concrete waterproofing system. You can actually, we'll send you an email, but you can, if you've got time, to flick either my email or Ben's down, and you can fire us an email and talk about a project. As we said, we're very project specific. So I'll just turn the screen share off and we'll answer some of your questions. Awesome. So what do we got here? We've got a couple of questions. So the first one there is an interesting question. It's, can the water trapped inside cause corrosion of the reinforcement? That's an interesting question. Very good question, because I think you've got the concept of how the hydrogel works, but just a little twist on it. We don't trap water inside concrete. We transform it into another state. So it's no longer moisture that can move in and out of concrete. So therefore, that we stop the chance of corrosion in reinforcement. We're protecting the steel, which is that, I guess, the essence of waterproofing concrete is to keep our structural integrity by stopping our moisture getting to our steel.
I was also going to add to that, Henry, because we are working internally and throughout the complete concrete matrix, it negates or stops any air reaching the reinforcement as well.
Yeah.
So if we can, our theory is if we can pull one of those elements out of the corrosion process,
yeah,
it'll stop it happening.
Yeah, that's awesome, because you see that on when at wharf structures, don't you? So below the tidal zone, the pile can look just about brand new, but in that splash zone, that's where all the corrosion happens, because it's got the oxygen, it's got the moisture, it's got the three things to get that process going. So by cutting out one of the areas, we can limit it. So there's another question there. How the properties of sealing materials change with time? So you can probably answer this, Ben. Did you see that?
Yeah, it is. That's a very good question, I think. Because the hydrogels are colloidal silica based and of the cementitious family, they are set up in the concrete matrix for life, or the usable life of that concrete. So once they are in the concrete, they can't be destroyed unless it is the concrete itself destroyed. Over time, the hydrogels will actually grow and become part of the calcium silicate hydrate. So they will become part of the actual concrete and set up the matrix as well. So what we're basically adding more of the good stuff of what concrete paste is into the concrete in those pores and capillaries. I don't know if you had any more to add to that one.
No, that's a good insight there. I couldn't do better than that, Ben. There's one more question there. Any reinforcement ratio requirements? So we don't, how do I answer that? We just have a positive effect on the engineer's design from a structural point of view. So we don't say you should take out steel or you should add more steel. And one side note around that, there are admixtures out there that decrease the strength. So you have to add more steel because we're not adding anything foreign to concrete. We're just adding more of the good stuff. We just have a positive effect on the structural design as such. Hopefully that answers that question. We've got another one.
The only thing I probably would add to that one is because we work heavily and provide equal to 14 days water curing, your early strengths go up.
Yep.
With your concrete.
Yep. Yeah, I understand. Does the hydrogel work effectively with old concrete blocks? Interesting one. We've actually got a system called Acron 3000 that forms a thicker gel. It's not something we get involved in that much. Concrete blocks are a hard one to waterproof, especially old ones, because you've got so many variances. One, they're very porous. Two, you've got grout lines. Three, where do you stop and start if they put bang on a slab? Is there a gasket line? That sort of thing. So we tend to, that's where as a risk-averse company, we would steer away and say, well, we think that you should probably go with a belts and braces, like a membrane of some sort in that one. So hopefully that answers your question, Mark. And there's one more question there. Can the sealing material create extra pressure and cause cracking of concrete? Let me think about that question.
That is probably a pretty good question. I think maybe what he's asking there is because we are forming a gel in the concrete, are we producing any extra pressure within the concrete matrix? Is that
yeah.
But what I was going to say to that is that all we're doing is trapping any moisture which is already in that concrete and locking it in the concrete. So we're not actually introducing any other
and another
to that concrete.
Side note I'd add to that, Ben, also would be that with the hydrogel, because we are like some other admixtures, they pull all the moisture from the concrete around it to feed the crystals as such. With the hydrogel, we're actually feeding the hydration process of the concrete, so we get better curing. Better curing equals less shrinkage, more hard and durable concrete from day one. So we're minimizing shrinkage as well, and then we've got the self-healing ability to self-heal any cracks if they do appear. Concrete does funny things. That's why every project's a little bit different, and that's why we get involved early on. And we can also talk about things like saw cut layouts and control joints and all that sort of thing. But hopefully that's answered your questions. We're just about on time, 11:26. So thank you very much for everybody that's joined today. We appreciate your time in this busy schedule. If you have got a project, fire me an email, 5Ben1. We'll be happy to help you out and discuss it. But thanks very much, and we will see you next time.
Thank you very much, all.